So my name is Ron Shapiro. My clinic is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Shapiro Medical Group.
Plus trichoscopy using AI for long-term donor management and planning for FUE. I'm mostly going to be talking about the TrichoLAB Transplanner because that's the one I've been using. This is the number one market. There's the hair metrics, there's Craig, Bergman's, hair analyzer. They all measure the hair quite well, parameters quite well, and CVs, but this one to me has more functionality. So what's the patient's goal, the physician's goal? Why do we need this? Well, the patient wants test results, of course, and they want as much as it covers as possible. As a physician, our goal is to achieve the results without doing harm. We want to create a natural result that looks natural now in the future. And with respect to this machine and FUE, we want to create density that satisfies them without damaging or over-harvesting. And what's achievable is primarily dependent on the current and future hair loss, but also their lifetime donor supply. So, as everybody's been talking about all through this conference, we really need to be able to figure out what the lifetime donor supply is. And every patient's different. There are some patients, from my experience, there's some patients with such a great donor supply, minimal hair loss, cover everything. And there's other patients that have terrible donor and extensive hair loss and we really shouldn't touch them. But most people are in between. And that's why it makes it hard, because where are they in between? That's the factor of how much hair you can get, how big they are, and predicting it. And not everybody can get these 5,000 or 8,000 sessions. So our job is to determine what can be achieved safely. Unless you see a good candidate who's great donor, older, had moderate hair loss, and he was on meds, and he didn't really care. That's a big factor. He had great expectations. And the other guy was about 25. Was already going to be a type 7, very poor candidate. And I didn't want to take medicine, but I still transplanted him. But this is the idea of doing a conservative hairline, and I had some and he still looks good 20 years later. He's Our ability to estimate donor supply has improved significantly over the past couple of years. In early years, I used to call it guesstimation because we just eyeballed it and we were only using FUE per square centimeter. It didn't take into consideration caliber or patches of middle follicular unit stuff in the hairs. So it's also when Craig developed the coverage value thing, it was a vast improvement because it took into account these two things. However, collecting that data on every patient manually was slow and time consuming, and it was just hard to do. So many people didn't do it. And that's where this digital imaging and AI trichoscopy has made this much easier. So I'm going to talk about the TrichoLAB. What are the components of the TrichoLAB 3D scanner? Well, it has three major components. First, it has a camera that scans the patient and creates a 3D image. And all that 3D image is a template of both the donor and recipient. And then I use a Leva camera for trichoscopy. It's the same camera they use for all the research. And then they also have software that takes this data and creates different modules and different functions. So the trichoscopy that you do gives you, this is not all of it. This is one you get for the initial planning of surgery. You get the hair density, you get the mean thickness, you get the follicular unit density, you get the signal triple fuse. And the hair density plus the thickness, when you multiply that, that's really what the cumulative hair, that's what the coverage is. And that's to me what I use most of the time. And so you get the cumulative hair thickness, and the hairs are red. Now for me, this is the main number. As you look at it, the normal line for most people is 10 to 12. And they say you don't want to go below 5.4. That's what they say before you start thin. I like to stay higher as a conservative, but let's just say that if you look at this, you can see that it all makes sense. In the temporal area, parietal occipital, you see the occipital area has a greater coverage value. The temporal area, has parietal less. And look, there's one thing good about this machine is that you can take multiple. You don't have to just do 1, 2, or 3 dots. You take as many dots as you want. So in this case, I did it above and below the midpoint, and you can see that it always at the top is sensor. So that makes sense. So let me just show you. I have a video that sort of shows this in action. So the first thing you do, you take a scan. There's 5 of these, so you do 5 from the front, 2 from the back, 5 minutes. Once the scan's done, you get this digital image of his head. And this is the grid that they lay on. The grid is that's the donor area. They break into parietal, temporal, and occipital region. But you can, they'll work with you. They can make any bridge you want. So if you have a different point of view, you can do it. They also have moving time. So this is the grid of the circle. So I should get the grid. Now, what I do, by the way, is I don't just use the grid. I actually draw it ahead of time. Both of my tabs with my own pattern, and I just match the grid to that. So I know it's exactly what I want. I know, and if you don't trust the numbers of the area, that's the way to do it. Just draw it. You know what you're going to do. And then when you do the thing, it's not. Then you take the leading hand. And what you do is you just place it on, and it takes the grid and you place it in each area. Each area. Very fast. Boom, 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 boom. Slow it down. And then you get these numbers, as you can see, these are the numbers for the temporal and parietal. And as you look at them, it shows you where you're actually knows that. So with these numbers, because you have the coverage value for every area, it can calculate the total donor capacity because it gives you the coverage value for each area. And that coverage value is a mathematical formula that will convert to the number of follicles. So this automatically gets you the number of follicles for the lifetime donor. That's not the only thing you can do. First of all, the other thing, you can do it with long hair too. You just have to part the hair. And that's good because if you want to do it in a console, you don't want to shave everybody. But the other thing you can do is for mapping the donor area at the individual surgery. Everybody has different donors everywhere. You want to have a homogenization. And because you know the different follicular units and the different donor capacity of each one, it will calculate how much you need to take to get the same decrease everywhere. You just, I can't say how to do it, but it's very easy. It's a slider. Or to know how many follicular units per square centimeter. So it's very good for planning your donor harvesting, if you, especially if someone has really discrepancies, like low donor down here, high donor, and really good for repairs. Someone comes in and they have really good over harvested, if they happen to harvest it, you know what you can take there to get to a certain point, you know what to come back, and it lets you do that. It's really good for that. So I find that's really good. There's some other capabilities, but I think I'm out of time. It's really good for medical follow-up, by the way, because it does what's called medical tattoo. I mean, a virtual tattoo. And so they've shown if you go back to an area just a little bit off, it's different by 5, 10, 15%. So we really can't follow exactly medical therapy, but with this you point to the exact same spot, and the tattoo doesn't have to be ink. You can use a fluorescent ultraviolet, the same now. It's invisible. One little dot. A year later, you'll shine the light on it, see the dot, put the thing there, exactly where it is.